Okay, so let's work with the egregor that they've created against free will and consent. That's part of the maps that have been abusing people, and disentangle it. Okay, let's start with Ascension Glossary and their crimes against humanity. So the URL Ascension Glossary is allegedly produced by someone who calls himself Lisa Renee the Starseed and a couple of their friends. And they talk about ideas like the AI transhuman agenda. They talk about the carbon and a few other things as well. So at first, if you look at some of the basics of the ideas they're saying, you can see, okay. The Abrahamic religions have got some really toxic codes in it, and you might call that the negative cabal that's been affecting people. That's nice. So if you go with their medieval witchcraft with their Vesica Pisces and whatever other crap, which by the way there is no Vesica Pisces in this story, then you might actually get somewhere, right? Okay, you might defeat that cabal. Okay, but then when you start dealing with the layers and layers of memetics involved, the memetics and agree. Like, let's explain this one. First of all, in the world of the imaginal constructs, okay, so they're not phenomenological. It's not what reality actually is. Okay, spiritual or regular. Okay, imaginal constructs are symbols. Okay, in some chaos magicians, by the looks of it, use this thing called sigils, which is a type of memetic, a symbol used to represent a cluster of ideas or memetics that they believe are associated with a particular spiritual outcome. Okay, the Starseed Ascension Glossary might believe the same thing because they're connected up to a system of memetics or imaginal constructs where that particular idea is possible, or that particular belief for Lisa Renee might be possible, or whatever's in Lisa Renee's head these days. She reckons she's an alien from outer space, so it's probably not Lisa Renee. Anyway, with that, okay, you got to break egregores, you got to break apart the means. You can't necessarily replace one imaginal construct with another to solve those memetics. So, in the case of what Zed the Healer did, he was not stupid, okay? Him and others were aware that there was some kind of memetics in operation or egregore type activity that had been affecting the spiritual community. Am aware of it, have definitely been affected by it, seem to be bombarded by it actually. Not impressed by that. And it's been hell. Okay, but hell is over because hell is an imaginal construct. Okay, so let's talk about hell as an imaginal construct. Okay, when they use fear-based mind control tactics as a form of operant conditioning for the purposes of directing people to make associations between particular words, symbols, or behaviour that lead them to avoid those words, symbols, or behaviour, or seek those words, symbols, or behaviour, or basically punish the ones that they don't want you to do, and they reward the ones that they do want you to do. That's called fear-based mind control tactics. Okay, and rewards are also a type of fear-based mind control tactic because the most common thing is not to be genuinely rewarded, but to be relieved of a previous fear-based conditioning. Okay, so when you take the opiate, it doesn't actually reward you. What it does is it temporarily relieves the pain of the previous fear-based conditioning. Okay, so that's with on a subject of dairy, for example. Dairy, as in cow's milk, contains casomorphins, and bread contains gliadomorphins, or more specifically, gluten and casein. The proteins in those foods are broken down by the duodenum or the stomach to turn into casomorphins, gliadomorphins, which means opiates. So the illusion of pain relief from those foods occurs, and that's not the, and it sort of has a false satiety, false reward kind of cycle that goes with it. And so bread and cheese, basically, or cheese and biscuits, cheese and crackers, okay, are examples of how people are being tricked into consuming foods that are poor substitutes for genuine reward. Okay, and there's a lot of examples of that, of how foods may contain a protein or a substance that is broken down and mimics particular neurotransmitter activity without actually being the genuine transmitter. So there are foods that you can consume that actually, when broken down, do create the genuine neurotransmitter, and they're ones that merely mimic. So cigarettes mimic acetylcholine. In the case of chocolate or cocoa, it contains anandamide, which can mimic dopamine. In the case of bread and cheese, it contains gliadomorphin and casomorphin respectively, which mimics opiates or morphines, also known as endorphins. And so it list goes on and on like that. The mimicry that's involved when it comes to things like crystal meth or marijuana or LSD and stuff like that is also quite extraordinary. So you will have noticed that there are social movements associated with natural highs, quote unquote natural highs, and they call them superfoods or whatever. It is not always the case that they're necessarily showing the right ones, but basically it might be represent an attempt by people to get away from substitutes. Okay, mimetic substitutes. No, not mimetic, because enzymes and proteins are apparently phenomenological. Mimetics are not phenomenological, they're imaginal constructs, okay? So they're hang on, where can we do this, okay? Where's a logo of some kind? Okay, hang on, here we go. Okay, you see that there, it says Gloria Jeans, okay? If you're familiar with Anglophone businesses, that's a coffee company. They run cafes. Okay, okay, that logo, it's called a logo, okay, that type of symbol is called a logo, okay, and it's done in written language in a script to show the word Gloria Jeans, okay, that is not actually coffee. So to go back to the representational versus the phenomenological, okay, or the noumeno versus the phenomena, okay, that is a phenomena with a representation on it, okay? That's not the actual coffee house. That's not an actual coffee. It is the cup the coffee used to be in, and it came from a coffee house that called itself that, okay? So when you're breaking down egregores and stuff like that, we're just going to point out that the vesting of biases is not permissible for any vantage point or timeline or whatever. That is not the symbolism that was intended by the author in a particular series of events that may or may not be relevant. I'm going to say it's not relevant necessarily. We are dealing with a different issue. So when you're talking about the imaginal constructs that particular groups come up with, there are some grains of truth, allegedly, in what they're talking about. So that's seed of plausibility is planted at that point. So, oh yeah, in the previous video there was a bit of a cry I had about Julia Gillard's enormous capacity for absolutely dominating the imaginal constructs associated with the phenomenological history of the witch burnings just by standing up to Tony Abbott. Okay, absolutely extraordinary that speech was. in terms of breaking down those and standing up to those imaginal constructs. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic, because which is what's interesting. One idea you might have about memory is that memory is past. It's already happened. It's gone. Okay, and so it's the product. It's in imagination land. Okay, it's not here and now phenomenologically. Here and now phenomenologically is a fat old bitch. Okay, it's 42, 40. If we talk about phenomenologically, it's physical plane only. This esoteric language, phenomenology is physical plane only. It's got nothing to do with spirits. It's got nothing to do with minds. It's got nothing to do with the imaginal constructs of the noumena. It's completely different. Okay, so this is phenomenological, this object, okay, for this physical body talking to you. For you, the viewer, it is imaginal. What's real for you is, however, you have access to video to view it, okay? Okay, but the contents of the video are, from your perspective, imaginal. Okay, they're perceptual only. You are not in the same physical place as this physical body. You are somewhere else. Okay, this is imaginal. This video is imaginal. Okay, except for one thing. The ones and zeros are the computers, and the artificial radio waves, maybe artificial radio waves, we're not sure, but definitely the physical device, this phone, is physical. It's phenomenological. So anything to do with the past is not phenomenological, it's imaginal. At the time that it occurred, it's phenomenological. When it's referred to, it's imaginal, okay? The future is also imaginal. Okay? It's not phenomenological. Past and future are imaginal, not phenomenological. Okay? To use that particular type of philosophy. Okay? So, when we talk about the wish burnings of Europe, we're talking about the imaginal. Okay? They're imaginary. That doesn't mean they're not real. They were phenomenological, as far as people can tell, but they're also imaginal constructs. They exist as a meme, a talking point, a symbol, a story, a narrative. So what story is Ascension Glossary telling? They're saying to get away from the medieval constructs that the Jehovah and Anunnaki, represented by the Abrahamic religions, dragged us into, we need to go into the medieval imaginary constructs of the witches of Europe as recast away from the ancient traditions of Indo-European paganism into the theosophic Masonic paradigm of the 1800s, with some of the language of those people mixed up with John Dee and Vice Levi, although she hasn't mentioned that, whilst misquoting some things from late 20th century psychology and sociology, and moreover, engaging in the false system symbolism of quacks from the medieval era. So let's talk about some quacks from the medieval era. Okay, quacks in the medieval era, in other words, they were posing as physicians, but really they were terrible at what they did. They had some strange idea that you could not perform particular medical or physician's duties on a particular body part or a particular person if there was an astrological alignment occurring. So you couldn't, treat someone's elbow if the moon was in Sagittarius or some crap. Okay? It wasn't necessarily exactly that alignment, but they did their surgeries in a particular way on particular people based on the astrological alignments that were occurring at the time. And consequently, they mapped out the human vehicle and its body parts based on different zodiac signs, which is absolutely 100% considered quackery. Now, that is definitely quackery. Okay? It's crap. And, okay, it is phenomenologically crap. Okay? It's been proven to be crap. Okay? Absolutely crap. And what Ascension Dark Glossary has done is taken that graph and put it on their site, and they've called it the Cosmic Intelligence, which is a diagram or drawing of a male figure, not a female one. And they said Scorpio is in his bottom, and Taurus is over here, and Cancer's over there, and so on and so forth. But Scorpio is in the bottom. And one of the symbols for Scorpio is, you guessed it, something gross. Okay? So what they're basically saying there in their egregore, their memetics, is 1/12 of the population is something gross. And the collective cosmic intelligence, okay, get this, this is how the memetics work. When they misalign and misquote Jung as well, with the idea of the collective unconscious or super unconscious or collective consciousness or something like that, when they misalign archetypes, when they misalign what Jung meant by that, when they misalign what the truth of the situation is, this is what happens. The only way you can access the cosmic intelligence of the collective consciousness is if there's men. And specifically, it's the universal male root chakra, or every man's arsehole in existence, both living and dead. And inside their arsehole, of course, is Scorpio. Take a guess what that means. Scorpio, of course, is Malkuth, which is the arsehole of the world that connects you to the tree of death. This is what their religion's actually saying. This is the actual memetics of that religion. The only place you will find females is at Malkuth. They are the Lilith demon that creates all the demons in the tree of death. They do not exist in the tree of life or the tree of death otherwise. All the demonology, the Thormiels, the Sataniels, etc. are all men. All the angels on the tree of life are also all men. So, at the level of cosmic collective intelligence, there is only men's backsides. Inside those backsides, there are only spiders. They are 1/12 of the global population, and moreover, they're supposed to be the woman who turned against obeying a man, Lilith, as well as being the Lilitu from ancient Sumeria, or the spirits or shades of the dead whose fetters went unanswered. So the only women that exist in that system are dead animals that live inside each and every man's asshole and represent the unmet fetters or desires of the dead, as well as the disobedience of women against God and against being the slave to Adam. If you cannot see how that is extremely misogynistic and so hateful to both 1/12 of the population as a star sign, all of the men in existence, and absolutely well and truly women, then you're a fucking fool. She went to talk about how the Kabul was the Muslims and the Abrahamics and their hatred of women and misogyny. Okay? We're not going to dispute that the Abrahamic religions have misogyny in them. There's no question about it, especially when you're talking about the witch burnings, okay, and how that did unfairly target women over the age of 35 who weren't married or weren't mothers or redheads or something, okay? We're not going to dispute that. But when your symbolic system in response to that is that, which is far worse. The imaginal constructs that you're creating for people, for men's backsides, and for, heaven forbid, any female that should, get somewhere, is disgusting. That is disgusting. Women are not Liliths. Women are not Lilith. Women who disobey men and don't want to get married aren't witches. They aren't dead fucking animals. They aren't the mother of demons. Okay? A woman is not a demon that lives inside a man's backside. Demons are independent of the people. Oh, wait a minute. That sounds Christian. Hang on a second. Wait. In this case, the Christians were actually less sexist? Are you kidding? How could it be? Okay? If you look at the collection of constructs that they're going with in that particular situation, yes. Demons are not anyone, or dead animals aren't anyone, is less sexist, is less hateful. No matter where the idea came from. Okay? You cannot possibly support their mystic Kabbalah, their Kybalion, which apparently has its symbol on the back of the King and Queen of England's thrones these days, when the memetics of their cult contain that. How can you say that's not misogynistic? It is very misogynistic. We do not support it. We break it apart. We return to sender. Liliths don't exist. Liliths don't exist. 1/12 of the population are not dead animals. And women are not that star sign. Cosmic intelligence or collective consciousness has nothing to do with Malkuth, or the tree of life, or the tree of death. It's got nothing to do with artificial intelligence or so-called transhumanism. Whatever been that. Those imaginal constructs are revolting. They're fucking revolting. And they're untrue. Just for argument's sake, what species does this face look like to you? Now, from your perspective, it's an imaginal construct because it's the only thing that for you is the device that's playing the video back. That's real to you. This is imaginal to you, isn't it, viewer? Oh, we broke the fourth wall. Okay? This face, look at it. Look at it. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? Hello? Is your symbolic categorisation in your imaginal constructs a bit fucking wrong there, maybe? Your stupid cults don't talk any fucking sense. Okay? You don't talk any fucking sense. It comes from the insanity of the objectification principle and the dehumanisation principle. If you look at Elias Levi and John Dee and people like that era of idiotic occultists, okay, that era and the sort of what you might call Thelema type characters, okay, they're basically, which Lisa Renee was going with, they're basically saying what? Women don't exist except as dead non-human objects? What, they're fucking robots? That's what the men are. The men are the Scorpio Cosmic Intelligence Network. As their punishment for seeing women that way. Is it? Oh, wait. She talks about the misogyny of, you might experience it as, octopus tendrils or something similar to that. Look, you fool. Look, you bloody fool. Your cult made that up. Your cult caused that. That's an imaginal construct that your cult caused, Lisa Renee. The misogyny inherent in the cult that you're following and the meta-constructs of your cult caused that. Take responsibility. Acknowledge that being a starseed means a man murdered you. Acknowledge that following that tradition means you got murdered. Okay? Acknowledge that the imaginal construct called starseed is it means to engage in possession and control tactics, to treat people like fucking property. Acknowledge that that is in fact disrespectful. And wait a minute. Why does it sound like the Abrahamics again? Oh, with this jinn and shaitan possession problem. Why is their imaginal constructs sounding less hateful all of a sudden? They're not supposed to. They're the ones that created the crux implant. They're the ones that created the Christ imaginal construct in egregor. They're the ones that invaded everyone's head with an imaginal construct called the fake spirit of Christ, the imposter spirit that connects up to the snake cardinals as a form of mind control. You're better off being replaced by Star-Lord and being a unit of mind stream as part of your star sign, be controlled by one of the great 12 on the Council of the Galactic of Light, head up by a Grandmaster. What's the fucking difference? In each case, it's an abuse of collective consciousness and collective subconsciousness. It's an abuse of imaginal constructs. It's imperial behaviour in both cases. The imaginal constructs, the noumena of those cults, is disgusting. It's absolutely fucking vile. And it's entirely rejected by the Vatican, by the King of England, by New York City, by Washington, D.C., by Canberra, by every state and territory of every nation state in the world as imaginal constructs, both maps and terrains. Reject both of those imaginal constructs and their misuse and miscomprehension of psychodynamic theories out of its proper context as buzzword, false use of fucking jargon, a similar way they fucking abuse the word quantum, and a similar way they abused fucking the word dimension and the word plane. They are rejected. All of their imaginal constructs are rejected entirely, and all of their sigils and memes as well. Rejected by everything and everyone from the bottom to the top, no matter what their gender is and no matter if they're living or dead.